So once we get an offer accepted, what are my outs? Am I stuck in it?
That's a very good question. So written into the contract of the California Association of Realtors CAR residential purchase agreement, you have a couple contingencies, and they're super important to protect you as a buyer. So technically the home is sold as is, which is oftentimes a scary term in real estate, in home buying. But luckily, even though it says as is in the contract, it also says that you have a few contingencies. One, which a lot of you might have heard of, are your inspections. So during escrow, we negotiate, before we get into escrow while we're writing the offer, we negotiate an inspection period. And during that period, usually somewhere between 7 to 17 days, depending on how many other buyers are looking to buy and how competitive it is, you have the option to check out the foundation and the plumbing and the roof and the electrical. You can look at the disclosures that are sent to you if the seller knows if there are any leaks on the property or if there might be sex offenders in the neighborhood, or you can check out the schools. The list goes on and on and on. You can check out for air quality. And it's a great opportunity for you to get all of the things that you know about the home in one place. And once you get them in front of you, we compile a list and we say, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, we put in what's called the request for repairs. And the request for repair says, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, we know now that there's $10,000 worth of damage on the home. Oftentimes it's not necessarily damage. It can be things that are upgrades, or maybe an outlet's not working properly, or the shower diverter that makes the water come out of the shower head versus the bathtub is leaking. And we can say, we want you to credit us some of the money towards our closing costs, or we want you to lower the purchase price, or we'd like you to fix some of those items. And we can actually ask them to do one of the three things or all three of those things. And if they say no, then you as the buyer can either cancel because you're within your contingency period, or you can say, you know what, I love this house, I'm going to move forward anyway. And oftentimes we're somewhere in between. The seller says, you know, we'll take care of some of these things. We think they're safety hazards. But some of these things, you know, we've lived like this for 30 years in this house and it's great. So that's kind of your inspection contingency. Aaron, what's an appraisal contingency?
The appraisal contingency is basically saying that, most lenders will have a appraiser come out, a certified appraiser come out and look at the comparable properties in the area and make sure that the property is actually worth what you're paying for it. So if, for example, you're buying $1 million house, just to make numbers easy, and the property appraises for $1 million, then you're okay. If the property appraises for $900,000, then you're theoretically buying it for more than it's worth. So that will trigger any lender to say, whoa, I'm only going to give you up to this amount of money, which then it becomes your responsibility as the buyer to come up with that difference. And because it's a contingency, you have the option at that point to, no, the property did not appraise, I want to back out. And you can back out with that appraisal contingency.
Absolutely, yeah. And, you know, oftentimes if it's a very heated market and there's a lot of buyers, we've seen in LA, maybe not that extra 100,000, but the appraiser might say, I think it's only worth 975. So then the listing agent might say, well, you know what, let's get another appraiser out there. And so we can have two appraisals to see. But if you have that extra 25,000, you can pay, okay, instead of getting a loan based off 975,000, we're going to pay the extra 25 grand because there's 10 other buyers behind us that are willing to pay $1 million. And then therefore it's worth it to you and those other buyers. It's really trying to help the lenders determine what they're going to give the loan for, what they think it's worth for that loan.
And then Devin, is there any other ones?
Yeah, that's a great point. So we have one more. I always like to say it's the loan contingency. So after you've done your pre-approval, which we've talked about, we get into escrow and the lender is going to ask you for all those documents again in escrow, and they're going to send them to their underwriter. And the underwriter is going to look and say, okay, yeah, the income checks off and the debt to income, the debt and your tax returns. But what I always advise people, when you get into escrow, don't go buy a new car. Don't go to Tesla. Don't go online and buy a Tesla online to celebrate until you've closed escrow, because you might say, what? I can afford the payment. I can afford buying this house and the car payment. And you know that. But the lender is going to say, wait a second, you didn't have this monthly payment when you showed us for the pre-approval letter. And you say, well, I'm in escrow. I thought it doesn't matter now. Say, wait, no, that you now can't get the loan because you have this $1,000 a month payment for this car. And you say, what? I thought I could get it. No, you need to wait to get the car until after you close. But just in case you don't watch this video and you go buy the car in escrow and the lender says you can't actually get the loan, you're protected by the loan contingency. So if they say there's nothing you can do, we can't get you the loan, then within that contingency period, you're within your rights in the contract to cancel escrow.
It's also very important to know that you have your contingencies until you remove them in writing. There is a form for it. So they don't just automatically disappear. Though there is a time limit, you have to write and sign saying that you are removing them.
That's right. So you're protected by that. And oftentimes, if we have a 7-day inspection, as long as we're moving things along and the sellers and listing agents know, okay, they've had all their inspections, and we can say, look, we're really sorry. We're waiting for the plumber to send us the report back. Most sellers are pretty patient with us. Now it's within their right to send us what's called a notice to perform, to be able to cancel on you as the buyer. But as long as you're moving things along, people are pretty cooperative to work together. That's part of our job, to keep the escrow moving smoothly.
Exactly. We're all on the same page. Both sides want the same thing to happen. So as long as we have a good relationship with them, which is what we do, should be okay.
That's right. We want to get you the best deal we can, save you the most money, but get you that house you love. Hey, thanks so much for checking out the video, you guys. If you're looking to take the first step in buying your house, the number one thing is finding a team that you trust.
We have a network of incredible real estate agents all over the world. So shoot us a message if you'd like us to make the connection for you.